Okay, well, good morning and welcome back. As you can see, I've already got the kids set up and we've had a late-ish breakfast. I've organised some stuff up in the living room, ready to put the rails in, and I fixed the leak on the pipe quickly. I've got my tripod set, so ready for another day of filming. The plan for today will be to get all of the metalwork for the ceiling in and then as much plasterboard as possible. It's not a huge amount, but before we kick off on that, I thought I'd take you for a little wander around the village, and I found some very old pictures of the village, and you can see just how little it's changed in the last couple of 100 years. So let's go. There's still a couple of roses. This area needs more manual attention, and all of this needs to be pulled off now. If we go down the little track, that takes us straight into the second square. There are two sort of squares. They're redoing the road at the moment. So they're redoing quite a lot of things. This used to just be a sort of a gravel car park. And there used to be a hotel restaurant there, Tales. This house here, I'll see if I can get to the other side of the road, you'll recognise any second now. There you go, that's pretty recognisable, I think. Not much has changed there. Not a huge amount has changed here either. Nor has the church, which rings at 7, 12 and 7, the Angelus. Here's the school, which is still a working school. They have a regroupment with another 2 villages. So there's 2 years here and 2 years in another village for the maternelle. That's the butcher's. Still comes in a truck. And this is the town hall here, hidden away behind the church. Not very spectacular or big. There's an old basketball court, but they're using that now to look after stuff. And then we're going to get over the bridge. This river is called the Overzère, and sort of in spring and in autumn there's enough water in it to go properly kayaking. In summer it's a bit shallow. There's an island, little island over there. And as with everywhere else in the Dordogne, it feels like there's a castle every 50 metres, so there's sort of a little one over there. And the rest is just woods and fields and houses. I think you'll agree it's really all quite pretty. There used to be a little restaurant here with a bar, but that closed I think 2 years ago now, because the building belongs to the mairie and they didn't do any work on it, so eventually they left. And around here, go up the back. This is the house that you see on the back of my yard. And that tree there is the corner of my yard. This was restored just about 10 or 12 years ago. But I don't think anyone's ever lived in it or spent any time in it. I don't even know if they finished it. So, there you go. It's quite nice with a nice big courtyard in front. And this building here is the building you see from the corner of the garden with the solar panels on the back. Oh, someone's put a gate up here. This also belongs to him. And this is in fact the piece of land that I really always wanted to buy when I lived here, because that is my garden fence. And this would have been an access in and out for cars, vans, whatever else, into the back of the house and somewhere to store stuff. So that would have been an ideal piece of land, but he never wanted to sell it. As you can see, we've gone once all the way around, and we're back to where we started, Rue de la Pompe. I might get the drone out in a minute, a little overview look, but first I'm going to start on the ceiling, get changed and get going. Okay, so here's what we have to work with. I pulled off the rest of that on the side there. I'm going to unscrew that hook. I'm not quite sure why there was a hook there, but I don't want it there. I've taken off the bits that were sort of hiding, so you can see the structure above now. That's the bathroom above here, the bathtub sat on there. And you can see this is where it was, plasterboard, and this is brick. And they used to hang the brick on these little bits of metal, twisted metal, on levelling boards on the sides of these beams. So yeah, I remember because I put this staircase in, when I chopped that beam, that bit there, which is actually a bit of this because it used to go all the way through, I got through, I think, 2 chainsaw blades and 1 entire chainsaw. I just cooked it because this is all oak. And it's like cutting through cement. So there we go. This is the plan. The first thing I'm going to do is reroute these wires here onto the other side of this wall and change the switch so that that's tidy and inside this room, because that doesn't need to be out here at all. That can just get screwed onto there. So that's just a hole through the wall there. Pop the cables through from the top, and then we'll start setting up the rails. So there we go. I just put it through there, put it back in our gutter here. New switch works. So just cover everything up, and that's preparation. And then we've got the phone line. Like anyone still needs a fixed phone line, I guess, maybe for internet, but I think there's fibre here now as well. So we're going to have a look at that in a second, and then we'll start getting the rails up. Okay, so these rails are like those rails there, and they're held on with bits like this. So what happens is that sort of clips into there. I have to push quite hard, but I can just twist it. There we go. And then you can flip this tab down to hold insulation or whatever else into your ceiling and leave an aeration space. So we don't need that. But what we will have to do is work out how we're going to fix them to the ceiling so that they don't flap about too much, because they're basically designed to be screwed onto the side of a beam like this. So over here, no problem. But here, we need to fix them to the ceiling. Now, there are other types of fixing to the ceiling, but this is what I happen to have here. And I would like this to work. So I'm going to have to bend them and then we'll need to work out how much space we have and where to bend them. So I'm going to assume that the old ceiling is flat, and we've got 6 centimetres there, and in fact we've got 6 centimetres there, so whoever did this last assumed that the old ceiling is flat as well. So I need to suspend something that's 6 centimetres, but my plasterboard here is 13 millimetres thick. So for that to come up flat against there, like that, to make a nice flat ceiling, I am in fact going to need something that's 4.7 centimetres. And then the hanger, or suspente as it's called in French, well, it pretty much gets to the edge of that, but not quite. So we need to measure the width of this and then this indent here. And that needs to be 5.7 so that the whole thing together makes 6 centimetres. Okay, so unfortunately, plasterboard plus the rail, or the metal framework, to there, whoops, little focus, it's 3 centimetres. And then another 3 centimetres is about here, and there's no way I'm going to get a reliable bend there. So, what I think I'm going to do is every so many, because it really is that short, we're screwing into a very sturdy, this ceiling is going nowhere, wood ceiling, is I'm going to make a dent in the middle of this with a hammer, and then drill a little hole and put a screw, and we'll just hang it on screws, because it really only has to hang 5 odd centimetres, not even, off the ceiling. More aeroplanes, and that should work quite well. But now I need to go and see if I've got enough long screws, and I do. I have plenty. These would do. These probably slightly better. So we're going to give that a try. I think if I pre-drill, get a little piece of tube, and then hammer on the back of one of these screws, it'll create like a flush bend in the top of the metal, because I just don't want the screw to be sticking out and push the plasterboard back and not get a nice flat seal on the plasterboard. And here we can just use the hangers just like they did. They'll hang off that, they'll hang off this, but this bit here we'll just have to screw up. Okay, well, that's the plan. It's a solution. And then, and then cupboard this at the end, and we'll see what we do with the floor. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm going to drill a hole like this. There we go. And then I'll put it on my spark plug socket. Put the screw through, and then hit it with the hammer so that it countersinks. And well, that seems to work remarkably well, because when the screw now goes in, you see it doesn't stick out at all, so it won't annoy my plasterboard. Now the problem I've realised, or just thought about while doing this, is once this is now stuck in the ceiling, when I start to push up on the plasterboard, it'll push the rail out. Although the plasterboard should hold the screw where it is, so that might work. It might work. Let's give it a shot. I'm going to drill some more holes. This is the first piece that I've cut to length, and then we'll try and fit it. It'll certainly make adjusting it easier, so it'll be perfect. We'll give it a shot. And that gives us this, which is our first rail. Let's go and try and screw it to the ceiling. Okay, so as I was screwing that first rail up, it kept kind of seeming to be bent or bent backwards, and in fact Now that I stand here and I look at it, you can actually see that the ceiling has a bit of a hump. It sort of does this. And that's because presumably the beams have sunk over time. They were very bendy. That's why there's this frame, suspended frame above it to give it sort of some sort of flatness. So that means that if I were to follow the line, then it starts going back up. And in fact, what happens is I have to pull this down, and this is now exactly the width of a piece of plasterboard all the way across. But as I screw into it, it'll push up. So I need to put something behind it. And I found what I'm going to do there. I just need to chop some little bits and squeeze them in there, and that'll be perfect. But basically all of these screws are where they're supposed to be, more or less. And that works. So, yeah, it's not going to be a perfectly flat ceiling, but it will be a smooth ceiling, and I don't think you'll notice it unless you know. Because, well, I lived in this house for 10 years and I never noticed that the ceiling was off. So there we go. That's the plan. Let's get that one set up and then get the next one set up next to it, so I can get the plasterboard, this first piece of board here, on, and then a second bit here around the electrics box. And then we'll put rails the other way around, this way, going all the way down here alongside those ones there. So basically be 3 rails here, 1, 2, 3, and then all the way down there. So I found a box of these connectors. If I cut them in half, they're 4.5, and they'll work perfectly. I mean, I could cut them longer or shorter, but they'll just go around the screw, and they sit in the rail, and I'll push back off the ceiling for when I screw the plasterboard up. So that's done, that's perfect. I'm just going to chop up a couple more, and then we'll get on with the second row. And there we go. That's the first one set. You see the spacer works perfectly. It's quick and dirty, but it works, so I'm not unhappy with that. Next up, the one closest to the wall. And get rid of that little piece of plasterboard there. That's just covering the wire pass into the ceiling there for this light bulb. So no problems there. And there's a second one we're tearing along now. So yeah, that sort of system seems to work quite well. We'll do the same down here. I think it looks like it when he did, whoever last did the ceiling, because this wasn't me. He did it so it was exactly level with this bit here. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then we'll fill out that last bit at the end, because I have obviously the hangers for that. So that won't be too complicated. Even here I can hang on to that middle beam, this beam and that beam, and that will work. So confidence is high, to quote a very old 90s movie. Okay, part one done. Time for part two. I'm going to take off this. This was a smoke detector holder. I need to get new smoke detectors. Absolutely. And I need to rerun the phone. Probably, yeah, no, just the phone, I think. Get rid of the phone line there. It's just a huge excess of cable that they left me when they fitted it. But yeah, there we go. It is what it is. This plug works. These light switches don't seem to be connected to anything anymore. So I can probably ditch them and ditch the wiring that goes with them, which is all of that up there. Yeah, okay. First things first, I'm going to get the first rail along here set up. Because I want to get basically the structure done, and then I can faff about with that just before I put the plasterboard up. Okay, so that's our line. There'll obviously be a third one in the middle, and then we'll bring them along to the walls. But problem is that space is too long just for a screw. The screw won't hold it. We might get away with this one. We probably will get away with this one, but we won't get away with that or that. So I'm going to have to use these and bend them and then screw them into the ceiling, and hopefully that'll do. It's fixed there. It's fixed there. I think it'll do. But now I need to measure them, mark them, and bend them with these, and hopefully that'll work. I think it shouldn't be too hard. I just need something to put them in and then bend them over with the hammer, so kind of into a slit somewhere, and that should work. So I'm going to mark, in fact no, I'm going to do them all in one go. So I'm going to put the third piece in now. These are full length, so they go up super quick. I'm going to put the third length up, and then I'll bend all of these in one go. So I've just been down to the town hall, to the mairie, which was a trip down memory lane, because the mayor hasn't changed, and my eldest daughter went to school with his grandson, so we had a bit of a catch up. And then I went to see another old friend from the village who's going to lend me a trailer tomorrow, so I can get rid of everything that needs to be gotten rid of. So that's good news. And I got my house number, which they had waiting for me at the town hall. So this is now 36, and I'm going to screw it to the wall down there, or maybe to the post. I'm not quite sure yet. And there we go, number 36. I don't know what number the neighbour's house is. There was a number on it, I thought. Oh yes, look, it's there on the post box. Number 33. So this is like the south of France. This isn't one house left, one house right. This is number of Roman feet to the entrance door, so, or to the beginning of the property. So I think 3 feet further than that there. That makes sense, yeah. So there we go. Back to the ceiling. Okay, back to this. So each one is a different length, basically. And what we need is to get them all set up, because the rails are now flat before they get any weight on them, but as soon as we put some weight on them, they'll swing, so I need to fix them. So I'm going to number them 1, 2, 3, and then number the suspente so that we get another 3 basically where those holes were. So 1, this will be 11, 12, 13, 21, 22, 23, oops, 30, oops, 1, 32, 33. Not great drawing. So now that I've got them marked up, I'm going to write the same numbers on the bits metal and mark where they need to be bent, and then I should go and bend them all. Okay, there we go. So they're in over there, all the way down. They're still sagging a bit because I fixed these, but I haven't fixed those over there yet. So they need to be fixed with these hangers, which I'll do now tomorrow morning. And then it's just a couple more over here to fill out this little gap here, but they're super easy, they're just hung. And then we're done. And then it'll just be a matter of screwing plasterboard up and then doing the joints and things. But basically, this was the most important bit, is get this right. But now, and at this point, the sun is still shining, but it's gotten quite late. Look at that blue sky. What a wonderful sight. I've been inside most of the day. I'm going to go and get my chainsaw and chop some wood. Tomorrow morning is trailer time, but I'm actually going to chop some wood to light a fire because I'm going to have a barbecue now. Here we go. That was a minute. It was quite useful having dead trees in your garden, so that should cook us dinner tonight. I'll go and collect up some kindling. I guess some of these twigs and branches over here will do nicely. Yeah, now I need to find some stones to sort of make a round and then put the grill on top of it. And there we go. It's pretty simple, but should be quite effective. I just put the grill on there like that, put the wood in bit by bit, let it burn up, create a nice little bit of warmth, and I think we'll manage to cook our couple of sausages and steaks on that. I'm going to get a bucket of water to stop this spreading everywhere else, and that should be fine. So there we go. Happy days. Almost there. Almost there now. The lamb and beef merguez roasting away. We have some chicken and some pork. This one's a little overdone, but other than that, we have a success rate of 80%. Pretty good. Okay, well, that's day 5. So a lot of sealing done. And some organising, and went to see the mayor, so I'm quite happy that I finally know the address of the house. We all used to have the same address. Everyone who lived in the village had one address. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be a big one, driving up and down to the tip and trying to get rid of all of this, so I've got to make sure that I can cut everything in half to get it in the trailer. And then in the afternoon, plasterboard up the ceiling, and hopefully, but it might be cutting it a bit tight, do the joints. We have some friends coming around for aperitifs. This is the things you have to deal with when you live in rural France, is aperitifs. So aperitifs at 6:30, everything by then needs to be done, and I need to be slightly less smelly than I am now. So there we go. Yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow, but leaps and bounds, we're really getting there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, I hope you're well. Take care, and bye-bye for now.